I knew my parents loved my brother more than me long before I was old enough to understand what favoritism meant. By the time I turned 14, I was already waking up before sunrise to make breakfast, iron clothes, clean bathrooms, and prepare dinner while my older brother Tyler spent his afternoons playing games and going out with friends. My mother called it helping the family, but somehow Tyler never had to help with anything. If I complained, my father would remind me that girls were supposed to be responsible while boys needed freedom to succeed. I spent most of my teenage years feeling invisible inside my own home. Every achievement I earned was ignored. Every mistake I made became proof that I was ungrateful. When I graduated near the top of my class, my parents skipped the ceremony because Tyler had a baseball practice that same evening. I remember sitting alone afterward, holding my diploma in the parking lot while everyone else celebrated with their families.
Still, I stayed loyal to them.
I worked part-time jobs and handed over most of my paychecks because my parents said the family was struggling financially. Meanwhile, Tyler somehow always had the newest phone, expensive shoes, and enough money to take weekend trips with his friends. Whenever I asked why things were so unfair, my mother would say, "One day you'll understand everything we sacrificed for you." But I eventually understood something else instead. I understood that I was never seen as family. I was convenience. When my grandfather Arthur passed away, I wasn't even told until 2 days after the funeral. Tyler accidentally mentioned it during dinner while laughing about the expensive watch Grandpa used to wear. I sat there frozen, realizing nobody had even bothered to call me while I was working a double shift. That hurt more than I can explain. Grandpa Arthur was the only person in my family who ever treated me with kindness. When I was younger, he used to slip me books and tell me I was smarter than I believed. He always noticed when I looked tired. He always thanked me when nobody else did. After his death, my parents suddenly became strangely polite toward me. My mother stopped criticizing my appearance. My father even offered to drive me to work one morning. It felt unnatural, like actors forgetting their lines. Then the lawyer called. Apparently, Grandpa Arthur's will required every immediate family member to attend a private reading. My parents acted nervous the entire drive there, whispering to Tyler while avoiding eye contact with me. The lawyer started reading through Grandpa's final wishes one by one. Tyler received his watch collection. My parents inherited some investments and property shares. I honestly expected nothing. Maybe a small keepsake if I was lucky. Then the lawyer looked directly at me. Grandpa had left me his entire savings account, his cabin property, and majority ownership in a rental business he quietly built over 30 years. The room went completely silent. I remember my mother's face draining of color while Tyler actually laughed in disbelief. My father interrupted the lawyer 3 separate times, insisting there had to be a mistake. But there wasn't. Grandpa had included a handwritten letter explaining everything. He wrote that he had watched me carry the emotional and physical burden of the family for years without complaint. He said he admired my resilience and wanted me to finally have freedom. Then came the sentence that changed everything. I am leaving my legacy to the only person in this family who understands the value of loyalty, humility, and hard work. I felt tears filling my eyes before the lawyer even finished reading. The drive home was painfully quiet until my father finally exploded. He started talking about family responsibility and how the inheritance should be shared equally because Tyler needed support starting his business. My mother said Grandpa was old and emotional when he wrote the will. Tyler suddenly acted friendly for the first time in years, calling me sis every few minutes like we had always been close. That was the moment I realized none of them were sorry for how they treated me. They were sorry they lost control over me. For the next few weeks, the manipulation became relentless. My mother cried about family unity. My father demanded access to financial records. Tyler even suggested I move the inheritance into a joint account for safety. They acted like I owed them repayment for raising me. But Grandpa had prepared me better than they realized. Hidden inside the paperwork was another letter addressed only to me. In it, Grandpa warned me that my parents would likely pressure and guilt me once they learned the truth. He advised me to protect myself legally and emotionally before making any decisions. So I listened. I quietly hired an attorney. I transferred every asset into protected accounts. I legally secured ownership of the rental business and the cabin property before anyone could interfere. Then I found a small apartment and moved out while my family attended one of Tyler's parties. I left behind a single envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a copy of Grandpa's letter along with a short note from me. For years, you treated me like I existed only to serve this family. Grandpa was the only person who ever saw me as human. You taught me silence, endurance, and sacrifice. He taught me self-worth. I finally know which lesson matters more. My phone exploded for days afterward. Angry calls, guilty messages, fake apologies. Tyler even accused me of destroying the family.
But the truth was simpler than that.
I stopped allowing them to destroy me. A year later, the rental business was thriving under my management. I renovated Grandpa's cabin into a peaceful retreat and finally started living the life I had postponed for everyone else's comfort. Meanwhile, my parents struggled financially after Tyler's business failed within months. They still tried contacting me occasionally, usually when they needed something. I never answered, because sometimes the strongest revenge is quietly building a life so peaceful that the people who hurt you can no longer reach it.